Okay, let's be real. We all use the sharing economy. Catching a ride, renting a cool place for the weekend, it's just part of our lives now. But what if the entire rulebook for that economy was about to get a complete rewrite? Well, there's a new technology on the scene, and it's set to do exactly that. We're going to dive into what that future might actually look like. So think about it. Every time you use one of these services, you're essentially playing in someone else's sandbox by their rules. And that really brings up a massive question. Who's actually in control? Who holds the keys to your data, your hard-earned reputation, and your overall experience? The answer, and it's no surprise, is the platform itself. Right now, companies like Uber and Airbnb are these incredibly powerful middlemen. They're the ones setting the prices, they own that 5-star rating you worked so hard for, and of course, they take a slice of every single transaction. They're the central hub, and everybody else, whether you're providing the service or using it, just has to operate inside their world. But what if there was a different way to do all this? Well, this explainer is based on some pretty heavy-duty research, a huge systematic review of 163 different academic articles. And what these studies do is they map out a totally different future for the sharing economy, one that could shift the power away from these big companies and put it back into the hands of the users. So how in the world is a power shift like that even possible? It all starts with this one key technology. Now, don't let the word blockchain scare you off. Seriously, forget all the hype and the complicated jargon. At its heart, it's really just a new type of digital rulebook, one that everybody can share, and this is the crucial part, one that everybody can trust without needing a big company in the middle. The real magic here is how different it is from the way things work now. A company's database, that's private, it's centralized, and they can change it whenever they want. A blockchain is basically the exact opposite. It's a shared record book copied across thousands of computers, which makes it totally transparent and pretty much impossible to change. Some researchers have even started calling it an internet of trust. And these 4 principles are really what make it all tick. First, transactions happen directly between people, peer-to-peer. The record of that deal is then copied and spread out across a whole distributed network, so no single person or company owns it. It's transparent, so we can all see what's happening, but it's also pseudonymous, so your actual identity stays safe. And finally, the records are immutable. Once a transaction is on there, it's locked in. It's there for good. You just don't need a central authority to verify things anymore. Okay, so we've got this new rulebook. What does that actually mean for you, for us? Well, the single biggest change is that it completely flips the script on the role of the user. You go from being a passive consumer, a pawn on the board, to being an active player in the game. Right now, on today's platforms, you're a rider or a driver, a host or a guest. You just follow the rules they set. The research calls this an ineffective institutional role. But in a blockchain system, you get to have an impactful institutional role. You're not just a customer anymore, you're a real stakeholder. So what does being a stakeholder actually look like? Well, you could be a miner, helping to secure the network with your computer, or a validator, confirming that transactions are legit. You could even be a developer, building new tools and features. You get to have a real say in the governance, voting on rule changes, deciding how the platform grows. Your actions actually help shape the future of the whole system. You become part of the platform. Now, this whole shift doesn't just empower us as users. It actually forces businesses to completely change their strategy. If we become players, then companies have to stop being these all-powerful platforms and start acting more like partners. This isn't just a small tech upgrade. It fundamentally changes the logic of how businesses innovate, build brands, and create value. See, today's platforms got big through business model innovation. They just found a clever new way to connect buyers and sellers. But the new logic is all about asset management innovation. It's not just about connecting people to things anymore. It's about fundamentally transforming the things themselves. And the secret sauce behind this is something called asset tokenization. This is just a fancy way of saying you can convert the ownership rights of a real-world asset, like, say, a tiny piece of an apartment or the rights to a song, into a digital token on the blockchain. And suddenly, these assets become super easy to divide, trade, and transfer. This also totally changes how we think about brands and trust. Right now, we put our trust in a single massive platform brands like Airbnb. But in this new decentralized world, trust isn't held by just one company. Instead, it's built through co-branding, where lots of different partners in an ecosystem work together to build a trusted reputation. And this new way of building trust completely revolutionizes the customer experience. A big headache with today's platforms is that they can be pretty inconsistent. You never really know the quality you're going to get. The new logic allows for what's called a provenance-based experience, where you can trace the entire history of a product or service because it's all recorded forever on the blockchain. And here's what that actually means for you. You could scan a code on your groceries and see the exact farm they came from. You could verify the complete service history of a vintage watch before you buy it. Trust is no longer just a brand promise, it's literally built into the item itself. And get this, brands could even send you tiny automated micropayments as a reward for your loyalty or for sharing data, all handled instantly on the blockchain. So this huge shift towards user control and transparent data, it leads to what might be the most profound change of all. It's a completely new way of thinking about who we are online. It's about finally, truly owning your digital identity. There's a name for this, self-sovereign identity. And it's a simple idea, but it's also a radical one. It means your online identity, all your data, your entire reputation, it belongs to you. Not to Facebook, not to Google, not to Uber. You control the keys. You decide who gets to see your information. I mean, just let that sink in for a second. Every review you've ever written, every 5-star rating you've earned, every single piece of data you generated, it all becomes your own personal portable property. And the benefits here are super practical. You know that perfect 5.0 driver rating you spent years building on one app? Now you can take it with you to a competitor and instantly prove you're trustworthy. You're in charge of who sees your personal data. You could even choose to get paid for sharing it. Your digital life is no longer chopped up into a dozen different corporate boxes. It becomes one unified identity that you own and control. So we've seen how this tech could change things for us and for businesses. But the ultimate takeaway from all this research kind of pulls all these ideas together and points to something even bigger, the real potential for a more fair and ethical economy. This quote from the research just nails it. It frames blockchain as way more than a piece of tech. It calls it a novel form of human institution. It suggests a future where our economic relationships are built to last and where value is actually embedded within society, not just pulled out of it. And this is what that new institution could look like. You see, value isn't just a two-way street between customers and companies anymore. In this model, the entire ecosystem benefits. That includes regulators, the environment, and society as a whole. It moves us from a simple transaction to a system where everyone has a stake in the collective good. Which leaves us with one last, really provocative question to think about. If all of our economic interactions were truly transparent, if our actions were recorded on a permanent ledger for all to see, would that force not just companies, but all of us to be more ethical? It's a future that's still being written, but it's one that puts the power and the responsibility right back in our hands.